Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Christos Sofianopoulos, and today we're going to be going over the 5-minute guide to meridian tapping. Now, a little bit of history behind it is meridian tapping came out of the ancient Chinese medicine of acupressure or acupuncture. And don't worry, we're not going to be using needles today. Acupressure is instead of using the needles, we're using our fingers to actuate the different portions of our body, the pressure points. And it basically does the same thing, except we can do it ourselves. To go over a little bit of vocabulary, um, present state is what we're ultimately experiencing in this moment. So, for example, anxiety or fear or loss or whatever it is that you're currently experiencing. And then there are lots of qualities around that. Where is it within the body, the color, the texture? And this may sound a little bit weird, but once you start getting more attuned with your body, and you're probably not going to always know at first, but as you practice, you're going to get more aware. And the more we can attune to these sensations, the easier it is to manipulate them. And trust your subconscious. The conscious mind doesn't always know what the subconscious knows and vice versa. So we just need to trust that the subconscious knows and kind of go with the flow sometimes when we're in these processes. Desired state is where we want to go or how we want to change the present state. So that's maybe going from stressed and anxious to being at peace. And you'll notice I do a lot of hand gestures. These are meaningful in that a lot of the times we represent the past to our left or behind us, and then the future to the right or in front of us. So as we are moving the present state to the desired state, that's actually pretty intentional. The SUDS, or subjective unit of distress, is a numbering system between 0 and 10, 0 meaning no emotion left, versus 10 being extremely high emotion. And this can be used for both positive and negative emotions. It's just kind of a way for us to keep track of how well the process is working. And if it's not working, then maybe we use a different process. Affirmations are an interesting one. A lot of the times, affirmations are represented as just a phrase. And although this is true, it's not a very useful thing unless you attach emotions. So, why we get into trouble, especially with negative states, is if we have a thought with no emotion, let's say flat emotion, the thought has no power. We can kind of look at the thought and go, I don't really like that, and then kind of release that thought. But if the emotions are really strong, it's thought times emotion, and then the stronger the emotion, because the emotion is kind of like squared, if you know the power formula, the there's the more strength that thought has. So what really is interesting about meridian tapping is it deals with that emotion. It brings it down to zero or near zero. So then we can actually take that thought and transmute it into something more useful. All right, so let's jump into the protocol. Now, this is kind of the shortcut protocol that we call the two tap. There's lots of other meridian points throughout the body, lots of them on the hands, lots of them on the head. And we have protocols that are bigger, that are sometimes more useful, but we have found that for the vast majority of cases, this two tap protocol is enough. So that's what we're going to do today. So in this example, I have the present state as stressed and feeling it in the tightness in the stomach. Whereas in my desired state, I want to be peaceful and at ease, feeling that kind of light feeling. In this, we're using a stress level of 8 for the SUDS. And when you're asking yourself, is it safe and appropriate? What we're going after is if you feel that kind of stepping on the edge where you're about to fall off and your leg pulls back, protecting you from a subconscious perspective, we can see these in these exercises as well. And that's what you're trying to see is there's a conflict inside, and with conflicts, you need to deal with the conflict before you can deal with changing the emotion. So if you're feeling a high stress level with dealing with this right now, maybe take a step back and just deal with the surface level emotion, or maybe pick something entirely different. And this is where we can do some one-on-one work, to figure out what that conflict is and resolve that first before we actually start resolving the emotion. All right. So now that we have our present state, our desired state, let's actually get into the process. So you either can use 2 fingers or 4 fingers, whatever's more comfortable with you. We're going to come up to the top of the head and lightly tap. It's basically, if you just divide your head into quadrants, it's just the very center. And then we're going to be taking large, deep breaths where we breathe all the way in and then breathe all the way out. I like to use hand gestures. It just helps me slow down my breath quite a bit. And then we express the letting it go through through our voice to help us connect all of our senses together. So we're going to actually say let it go out loud while thinking about the places in our body that needs to be addressed. And then we're going to hold our breath at the top and hold our breath at the bottom. So for an example, slowly breathing in, letting it go, breathing in, letting it go. Okay. And we're going to do this 5 or 6 times, whatever kind of gets you to that comfortable place. And at the end of that, we're going to switch between the place of the clavicles. So there's a little notch, you can kind of feel it. And this is the throat region. Some people are a little bit more sensitive here, so you can go a little bit lighter on the tapping, or you can kind of move up a little. Meridian, they're called meridian lines, so it's just where on the line you want to access it. We typically like about this spot right here. It's kind of that little notch area. So the same process, tap right here, breathe in, it's nice and slow. Let it go. And breathe in. Let it go. And repeat at your leisure as many times as it takes. And I usually go for about 30 seconds. And depending on how slow you breathe, this could be 5 or 6 times. And then once we've concluded that, we want to then take another test. How has it changed? How do you know it's changed? And this is a nice reinforcement to see that there is progress being made. It's kind of that your conscious mind picking up on what the subconscious mind has just done. So pay attention to where it is in the body, the different qualities, how has it changed, what's the intensity changes, all that stuff. And then go back up to the top of the head and repeat the process until you hit 0 or you have run out of time. And for a kind of a bonus breathing technique, if you when you breathe all the way in and then take a nice quick inhale at the very top, what that does is it expands all the little sacs inside your lungs, allowing a little bit more exchange of the oxygen carbon dioxide. And it also has been proven to reduce stress and anxiety even farther. So it's a nice little bonus technique that you can add on if you want to be kind of next level about this process. If you need any help, I'd love to work with you guys a little bit more. So reach out to me. Otherwise, have a wonderful day.